Tonight, what I'm going to show you is how to make, is it filming? Butter chicken. Mmm, yum. You can come here. Are you scared to be filmed? Why?
Because I don't want my image used without.
I'm gonna pay you. Hi everyone, welcome to It's Sarah. So tonight what I'm going to show you is how to make Indian butter chicken. Now for my Filipino friends and families, the image of butter chicken might be a little bit different in your head because the first time I had it, the image that I had in my mind was like buttered shrimp, that it's swimming in garlic and butter, but it's chicken. To be honest with you, the first time I had it, I was dismayed because the image of a butter chicken that I had in my mind was totally different. But the second time I had it, I thought it was really, really good. And whenever I would go to an Indian restaurant, I would always order it. So yeah, this is what I'm gonna show you, and hopefully that you are gonna like it and appreciate it too. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so before we begin, I need to let you know that I'm using substitutes for some of the key ingredients that you need for this recipe. But trust me, even if we are using substitutes, we are not compromising quality. As a matter of fact, you'll probably say to yourself that this is one of the best butter chicken recipe that you'll ever eat in your entire life. So one of those key ingredients is fenugreek leaves. Now I cannot seem to find it anywhere in Canada, so I'm using this guy instead, which are the seeds instead of the leaves. If you've had butter chicken before, you know that it has that very distinct flavor to it that you cannot seem to point your finger on. And this guy here does the job. I've known because I have cooked a lot of butter chicken before. It doesn't have this and it doesn't quite compare. This guy here is definitely a key ingredient that you must use. Another key ingredient is red chili powder. They traditionally use Kashmiri red chili powder, which has a very rich red color to it, and it is also packed with a lot of heat. So to achieve that, I'm going to be using a combination of smoked paprika, which doesn't have any heat at all, and habanero chili powder. You can basically use any chili powder you have in your cupboard as long as it is packed with heat. That should be fine. Again, smoked paprika for the color, and any hot chili powder you can use in your cupboard is fine. Another key ingredient is cashew nuts. I do not have cashew nuts available, so I'm using what is in my cupboard, which is blanched sliced almonds. This also does the same job as the cashew nuts. Just for extra flavor, I'm going to be sauteing it together with my onion and garlic until it has that brown color to it. And trust me, this butter chicken is probably one of the best butter chicken you ever eat in your entire life. So let's get started. Get your ginger and your garlic ready. Also grab your mortar and pestle. If you do not have mortar and pestle, you can use any grinding tool or equipment you have in your kitchen. Throw in there the garlic and the ginger. Add about a quarter of a teaspoon of coarse salt and ground them all together into a paste. Now your goal is to have at least 2 tablespoons of ginger and garlic paste, and that's how it should look like. Now grab your teaspoon because we are going to prepare our marinade. To that we are going to add 1 teaspoon of garam masala, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander seeds, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder, and I'm going to use just half a teaspoon for my habanero chili powder because this is really hot. Just a teaspoon of that. I can always add more if I need it later. And also for salt, I want to keep it at a teaspoon or half a teaspoon as well, because you can always add if you think you need a little bit more of it. And we are going to use a tablespoon of that garlic and ginger paste. Put them all into a bowl. Now to that we are going to add at least 3 tablespoons of Greek plain yogurt. You can use flavored yogurt to this. Just plain Greek yogurt. You are also going to add a little bit of water just to dilute your marinade a little bit, just so it's not too thick. It's easier to mix. You're also going to add about a teaspoon of lemon juice. And then just mix them all together. And it should be of this consistency. Grab your chicken. I'm using half a kilo. This will serve 2 people. I'm using boneless and skinless thigh chicken. To me, thigh is always the best chicken part to use. And then you're just gonna let it sit for at least 30 minutes. You're gonna prepare your tray. I'm lining it with foil or aluminum foil just so it's easier to clean up later. And you're gonna broil your chicken for 20 minutes on high, 10 minutes on each side. Now for our sauce, we are going to be needing 1 medium-sized red onion chopped, 1 green chili cut into smaller pieces like this, 1 medium-sized red tomato, and the rest of your garlic and ginger paste. For our dried spices, we are going to be needing 1 stick of cinnamon, about 8 green cardamom seeds, 4 pieces of cloves, half a teaspoon of ground coriander seeds, half a teaspoon of garam masala, half a teaspoon of cumin powder, and about a tablespoon of smoked paprika. We're using smoked paprika just for color, and I also like the smokiness that it gives to this dish. For your nuts, you can use cashew, but again, I find that almonds work just as well for this recipe. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started with our masala sauce. In your pot, you're going to put about a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of any neutral oil. You're going to temper your oil with your dried spices or aromatics for about 2 minutes. Make sure you don't burn them. Now to that, I'm also going to add my nuts just to give it a little bit of brown color. And I'm also adding my red onions. And let it sweat a little bit. And after that, I can now add my green chili and the rest of that ginger and garlic paste. Just mix them all together. Once your onion is turned translucent, you are going to add your tomatoes. So just mix them all in there and wait until your tomatoes is almost melted and has turned into a paste. So once it has turned into a paste, you are going to add in your powdered spices and just mix them all in there for about 2 minutes. You don't want to burn them. Just mix them all together. And to this, we are going to add the rest of that marinade sauce. Now keep in mind that there is a raw chicken juice to this, so you want to cook it off really, really well. At least for 5 minutes. So once you're sure that your sauce has cooked off, you are going to add your crushed tomatoes. Crushed tomato is the only way to go. I've tried
this with diced tomatoes and whole peeled tomatoes. It didn't work quite as well, so crushed tomatoes is the way to go. And just to dilute that thickness, you're going to add about 1 cup of hot water. Just mix them all together. We're going to get ready to blend, but before we do that, we are going to remove the cinnamon stick. So for blending, or before we blend, we are going to add our fenugreek seeds. I'm using about a quarter of a teaspoon of that. You don't want to use a lot of it because again, it has a bitter note to that. I'm also adding salt to taste. You can add as little or as much as you want. And now we are ready to blend. I'm using immersion blender. If you do not have immersion blender, you can always use just the normal blender, or if you have food processor, you can use that as well. Just make sure you smooth out your sauce. Now after about 5 minutes, you can transfer it into a strainer and you're going to further remove those gritty bits in it. So use your spoon and just get as much sauce as you could. And it should look just like this. Now our chicken is ready, fresh out from the oven. You're going to cut it into smaller pieces like this. And you can see how juicy it is. And that is a meal on its own. I'm telling you, that chicken really tastes so good. So in our pot, we are going to reheat our sauce. And to that, we are going to add about 50 grams of butter, or at least 2 tablespoons. Melt it in there. And also add your heavy cream. I'm using 35%, but you do not have to use 35%. You can use 18%, or if you want less than that, you can also do less. And to this, I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of honey. You can add again as little or as much as you want, depending on your preference. And that, my friend, is your sauce. Now to this, we are going to add our chicken. Now my chicken doesn't need any further cooking, so I'm just going to let it warm in there. And it is almost ready. We're going to get some coriander, chopped coriander for garnish. And that, my friend, is your butter chicken. We are ready to serve.
And now we are going to taste it. Now, traditionally they would eat this with paratha or naan, but it is also good with plain white rice. Mmm, so good. Mmm, so tasty. Mmm. Mmm. Restaurant quality butter chicken. So good. Mmm. Mmm. I want to eat more.